Hey, I got a few minutes here before I start making dinner, and I decided I want to make some ice cream for tomorrow. So I'm gonna quickly make some salted caramel ice cream, and when I spin it tomorrow, I'm probably gonna add some chocolate ribbons. So I'll try to do this one kind of quick. I do want to show you the recipe that I'm using. Just the basic formula is from this Jenni Splendid ice cream book. It is an awesome recipe. What we're gonna need is sugar, which we're gonna caramelize. That's gonna be the first step. We're also gonna need some corn syrup, like the kind you put in a pecan pie, not like high fructose. And we're gonna need milk and heavy cream. And we're gonna need tapioca starch or cornstarch. Tapioca starch, this is going to be what thickens the mixture instead of eggs, since it's not a custard. And I find that tapioca starch works better for what reason I have no idea, but it does. Okay, 2/3 of a cup of sugar over like a medium heat. And in a pan that's gonna be able to hold the whole ice cream mixture. This is a fairly small pan. I think it's like a quart. And this is gonna work. So there's that. We also need some cream cheese. So 1.5 ounces of cream cheese, give or take. And the reason I'm pulling it out now is because you want it to get a little bit softer if you can. Also 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Caramel ice cream definitely likes salt. We're also gonna need a small bowl to make our slurry. And a measuring cup to measure all this out with. I'll go ahead and get a teaspoon and a tablespoon. So the caramelization will start, you'll start noticing it on the edges before you see anything else. It'll kind of bubble up. If it's too hot, then it'll like brown aggressively on the edges, and that's not what you want. I might turn it down a little bit. Let's see, I'm gonna pour the cream directly into the caramel. I would normally go ahead and measure out the milk and make the slurry, but I think I'll do that after the cream this time, just to make things easier. We're gonna use 1.25 cups of heavy cream. And then for the bowl that you're gonna have your slurry, your tapioca starch slurry, 1 tablespoon and a teaspoon. And actually, I might just cheat a little bit and sort of guesstimate. You would normally measure out your 2 cups of milk and then pour in like a tablespoon or 2 of milk. I'm just gonna sort of guess how much I lost from 2 cups and even it out after the fact. It's good to have something to set your whisk on too. Sometimes I have, this guy. Keep this crowdedness. All right, you can see that the edges here have started to brown. My oven is on, and it's doing that thing that it does where it just beeps endlessly. So sorry about that. You kind of just drag the edges toward the sugar. It'll clump up on you a little bit, and it'll stick to the edge of your spatula. But, you know, it'll eventually heat back up and melt off. But don't be silly and try to like eat the sugar off directly from the spatula if you get like a little candy stuck to it, because that will be extremely hot stuff. You don't want it on your skin, and you definitely don't want it on your lips. And I'm not saying I'm speaking from personal experience here, because who would do that? Basically just want to drag the melted stuff over the unmelted stuff. until everything's melted. Color-wise, from the caramel, what you really want is like almost burnt, but not burnt. If you do anything less than like penny dark, you know, it should look like copper penny, like old, been sitting, you know, in a jar for 10 years penny. Because otherwise it'll just be sweet nothing. Cool, it's starting to, as you see, completely liquefy. There'll be some left on the spatula, but that's fine. And basically, I'm just gonna let this sit here and cook until right when it starts to smoke. When I'm ready, I'm just gonna pour a little bit of this cream in, and it's gonna seize up immediately, and then I'll turn the heat up and it'll kind of melt, and I'll add more of the cream. It might get kind of chunky, you know, like sometimes it seems like, oh no, I ruined it, but you didn't ruin it. You just have to keep cooking it until the lumps come out. You're basically just waiting until the sugar dissolves again, and it will dissolve. It might take a while. So I'm starting to see a little bit of smoke now. I'm gonna go for it. At this point, it's also a bit splatter prone, so be careful. You don't want to get, like I said, you don't want to get candy on your skin. Because it just keeps cooking, it doesn't cool off. All right, that's all the cream. Now we'll do the milk. Remember I said 2 cups. Some of it already went into the starch slurry. I'm gonna guess that it was, you know, just a couple of tablespoons, so that looks good to me. Now we'll add the milk. That's gonna drop the temperature down significantly. I can feel that something hardened on the bottom. There's a little bit of undissolved sugar, but it'll melt. Okay, so the next thing that happens is we're trying to bring this up to a boil, and you're gonna boil the ice cream mixture for 4 minutes. This is the Jenni's thing. I can't tell you. I know that the reason why you're doing it is you're supposed to be denaturing the milk, which like breaks down the milk in some ways that makes like milk easier to bind into, you know, to bind with water and not create like ice crystals. I'm not a food scientist. I don't know. I'm just like following this method, which is very reliable. While we're heating it up, we're gonna add the rest of the sweetness, which is the corn syrup. 2 tablespoons, I'm not gonna measure it. Measuring 2 tablespoons of corn syrup is annoying. Like, you leave half of it in the spoon. And you know, if you're scared of corn syrup, this isn't like some chemical. This is just a, you know, byproduct of corn that is actually less sweet than sugar. And it has a lot of viscosity, as you see, and it sort of adds to the general thickness of the ice cream mixture, which in ice cream, thickness equals creaminess on your tongue. All right, we got salt in this. I think we have all of our bases covered. This is not warm enough to really like whisk up, so I'll probably, just when we're done with the mix, pour a little in and whisk it until I incorporate the cream cheese. All right, I can sort of tell by the look of it that it's gonna start boiling any second, and this is kind of an important moment because I've definitely boiled over ice cream mix probably, 20 times in my life. I guess I could use a bigger pot, but for some reason I always use this pot, and maybe you're using a small pot too. So look out, because when milk starts to boil, it grows and grows and will definitely escape your pot all over your stovetop. And it happens really quickly. All right, you can see it really bubbling now. I'm gonna go ahead and start turning the heat down because it's gonna jump up. And I'm gonna start my timer, 4 minutes. I wasn't kidding around about the jumping up. I'm just gonna fast forward through this part. All right, then we turn the heat off and re-whisk the starch slurry so that you've definitely got it like in the milk. And when you go to whisk this, it's gonna pop up a bit. Then you just stream in while you're whisking, and you really do need to be whisking, otherwise you're going to have chunks of starch, like little balls of tapioca in your ice cream. I can already feel that it's thicker. We're gonna turn the heat back on just for a minute and stir the bottom so that you don't burn, because now that you have starch in there, it will burn. I'm gonna put this in the refrigerator overnight, but you could, if you wanted to do it on the same day, put it in a Ziploc bag like I'm about to do and put it in an ice bath for 45 minutes before you spin it. I will say that, here, I'm gonna turn the heat off because we've got what we want here. When I first got my ice cream machine, which I just use like a Cuisinart freezer bowl thing, one of those things where you like, you freeze the bowl, it costs like $80. I got mine in 2005 or something. And when I first got it, I was getting really bad results, and I thought like, oh, it's because you really can't make good ice cream with a cheapy ice cream maker, but that is not true. The key thing is that you've got to have a really cold mix going into it, unless you have one of those ice cream machines that has a compressor in it and does all that for you. So don't skimp on cooling down your mix. You absolutely can't just like put it in the fridge for a couple of hours and come back and spin it. You'll end up with something not very good. So since the cream cheese wasn't melted, I just added some of the hot ice cream mix. I don't eat a lot of cream cheese, and I keep cream cheese around generally just to make ice cream with. Sometimes when it's old, the texture will be lumpy because it's just like evaporated too much of the water in the cheese, I guess. And in that case, I'll just break out my immersion blender, but this looks all right. You can have like little tiny lumps. You won't really notice texturally. Jenny might disagree. Sorry, Jenny. I don't know, like, anything about Jenny's. I know it's from Ohio. Then it got like bought by some food company and they started exporting it to everywhere in the United States. I remember they opened one in Atlanta and I went, and the ice cream was like not good, first of all. But the weirdest thing about it was that they had like seasonal local ingredients, but but it was all like Ohio seasonal local ingredients. So they were like, you know, whatever honey from such and such farms in Dayton. And I just thought that was the weirdest thing. One of those like Frankenstein inventions that happen when people like franchise out something that's, you know, local and seasonal. It's very strange. I have had good Jenni's ice cream in the pint though. It was just the actual ice cream shop that I really didn't like. The one in Atlanta, just to be clear. And maybe it's good now, I don't know. I'm gonna add a little vanilla extract, like 2 teaspoons. This is peppermint. Ew, that wouldn't be very good. That was more than 2 teaspoons, but that's okay. All right, and if I just chilled this overnight and then spun it in my machine, it would be delicious. But we're gonna go ahead and do some chocolate ribbon as well because I like a little crispy something in my ice cream. I do like to taste it just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Should have tasted it when it was in the bowl. No, it's good. The weird thing about caramel ice cream is it's never too sweet. I guess it's just balanced out with the bitterness that happens when you caramelize sugar. I also just like making caramel ice cream because you pretty much always have the ingredients if you keep cream around. All right, we're gonna pop this in the fridge somewhere. Like that. All right, and I'll see you tomorrow and we'll finish this up. Okay, it's been chilling overnight. I got my ice cream maker out. This is my Cuisinart. I've had it for 10 years. It's like the cheapest ice cream maker you can buy, and it makes great ice cream, actually. Like, I can use this to make better ice cream than anything I can get in 100 miles from me right now. I just keep the freezer bowl in the freezer at all times so that we're ready. Here we are. Got a lot of dairy things going on in my refrigerator. It's that time of year, I guess. Because we put this in a bag, I can now just clip the edge of it. You can see how thick the mix is. And that is going to translate to creamy texture. Yums. Like I said yesterday, I wanted to do, oh wait, let's set up a timer. I'm gonna set the timer. So the max that you want to, for this machine at least, the maximum you want to spin for is 25 minutes. After that, you run the risk of making butter, just because the dasher is agitating the mix so much that you end up making butter if you're not careful. And I've done that. If you ever make ice cream and it coats your mouth after you take a bite, like it ends up on the roof of your mouth, you've accidentally made butter. So I'm setting it for 23 minutes because we're gonna do some chocolate ribbons or some stracciatella, sorry. Let's get chocolate. Darker chocolate might be better, but this is what I have right now. I'm just gonna melt it in the microwave. You could do a double boiler if you don't have a microwave. This is just easier. And you know, how much chocolate you want is entirely your own call. There's like a melt setting on this microwave. Let's see, what is it? Chocolate 2. To 1 cup. There we go. One thing that I do like to do with this ice cream maker is use this hard silicone spatula to scrape the sides after the first few minutes, because here, let me stop this. The ice cream does freeze to the walls, and over time it gets really thick on the walls, and I feel like it stops conducting cold to the rest of the ice cream as well as it did. So I just do that once. And then, you know, when we get to the point of getting the chocolate into the ice cream, you can spoon it in and try to drizzle it like this, you know, with a spoon, and that works pretty well. But like sometimes you get too large of a ribbon in there, like too large of a chunk of chocolate, and it basically just freezes into being like a hard chocolate chunk, which is not fun on your teeth. And so I take a little extra step and put the chocolate in a pastry bag, and then cut a tiny hole at the bottom of the pastry bag and squeeze it in while the machine's running. That's pretty good. All right. Get a little piece of tape. And then that's just gonna hang out until we're ready to drizzle the chocolate. We're back. You can see that the ice cream has started thickening up, and it's time to do the chocolate drizzle. I'm gonna try to cut like a pretty small hole here. This might be too small. Yeah, that's too small. There. Come on now. Ah. I probably should have waited to microwave the chocolate. There's a little bit of a blockage here. There we go. That's not as thin as I wanted it, but all right, I'm gonna save a little bit for the top. Got a container that I just kept in the freezer to get it chilled out. And this is the part where, you know, if your kid's around, you offer the dasher for them to eat at the sink, or if they're not around, then you eat it yourself. It really helps to have a hard silicone spatula for this. I ruined my original freezer bowl by using a metal spatula. So don't do that. But you'll need something with a little bit of rigidity to peel the ice cream off the edges here. Of course, you could also just leave that and eat it over the sink later when nobody's looking. There we go. I'm gonna pop this in the freezer, and we're gonna have it after dinner tonight, and I can scoop some and show you how it turned out. Oh, are you psyched? Oh my god, the Animaniacs. It never ends.
Yeah, Animaniacs never ends at this house. Just saying. That might even happen at your house. Be aware.
All right. Oh, really good. All right. Ice cream. You're not going to get that anywhere right now. What, are you going to go to the ice cream shop? You should just make ice cream.